All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Do Your Life Justice with another installment of Just My Thoughts. If you haven't already, if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure you've seen at least one or two of my videos in the past, so go on and like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Help me to continue to grow the channel so I can continue to provide you guys with my thoughts. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today is the divorce that everyone is talking about. Bill and Melinda Gates, in case you didn't know. Of course you know. But we're going to be talking about Bill and Melinda Gates. Now, there have been multiple Hollywood, high-profile divorces throughout the years. It is what it is. People get divorced. That's nothing special. So, personally, I wasn't really interested in their divorce, didn't really care about their divorce. It happens. You know, I've been divorced twice. So I understand the troubles and the struggles that go into being in a relationship. But there are some interesting things about their situation that I would like to point out. Because as I read the article and read about their divorce, and, you know, I'm going to be reading this article from time.com. Their thoughts on it were intriguing. So I'm going to read a little bit and then dissect a little bit. All right. So let's dive in. So like I said, I'm looking at the time.com article, and I will post everything in the description below. Shocking as the Gates' announcement is, it is not extraordinary. In recent years, the rate of divorce has been going down among all types of married couples, with a notable exception: those older than 50. While most people who are going to divorce do so within the first few years of their marriages, this generation of 50-plus folks, Melinda is 57, Bill is 65, are more likely to divorce than the 50-plus folks who came before them, a trend that is notable enough that it has earned its own name, gray divorce. So people age 50-plus now have been getting divorced at a higher rate than the younger folks, and then the people in their 50s from generations before. I never would have expected that. We always say, look at the older couples as the model, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, looking at other people's relationships. But to hear that 50-plus people are getting divorced at a higher rate, so much so that they've even dubbed it gray divorce, that's crazy. Okay, let's keep reading here. Israel Helfand says, I mean, not only are people living longer and healthier at their older ages, they're also seeing more opportunities. And so people have become a little bit more picky about their level of happiness. They don't want to compromise. So the older age means I have more time left on this earth. I don't know if I just want to sit around and watch, The Price is Right or reruns of old school shows with you. I still have some life to live. So older people are saying that they don't want to settle anymore. They don't want to compromise on finding their level of happiness. One is simply that people can afford to separate. That's a key thing. They can afford to break up. I got to stay with you. We got so much invested. If I divorce you, them assets chopped in half, I don't know if I can afford to maintain my lifestyle by having to give you half of my assets. That's a real reason why a lot of unhappy couples stay together, is because divorce is costly. But at 50-plus years old, you got money in the bank. So now you can afford to separate. When people have loads of alternatives, including financially, they are going to find it easier to let go when the distance has grown too large. I have options. I'm not settling. That's basically what they're saying. So Bill and Melinda Gates, between the two, $130+ billion. So even if she takes half of that, he's fine. I still got $65 billion that I'm never going to spend all of. So at a certain point, that's why we're seeing the older generation, the 50-plus generation of this group of people, now saying, okay, I can afford to cut my losses, because I'd rather give you half of my money and go on and live my happy life than to keep my money and be miserable with you. So just that part right there, I was like, heck, that makes a lot of freaking sense. Because even if you think about the Jeff Bezos divorce with his ex-wife, and I think he had to give her like $40 billion or some stock options that were worth about $40 billion. Us normal broke average middle to upper middle class folks, we're like, oh my goodness. That's a mind-boggling, baffling amount of money. But when you are at a certain level, a certain status, then it doesn't matter. I can afford to kick you to the curb and let you go and live my life. That 40 billion was nothing. Now Jeff Bezos is worth, 3-4 times that. So Bill and Melinda Gates, they're like, okay, hey, we can afford to cut ties. Neither one of us are going to be in dire straits. We don't have to worry about paying alimony and all this excess nonsense to keep this relationship going. So that's the first thing. Let's keep going. However, as recently as last year, the couple seemed to be close. On their 26th wedding anniversary, Melinda shared a post on her Instagram account. Happy anniversary to the man who keeps me dancing through life. Okay, so they filed for divorce back just a few days ago, May 3rd. All right. And just recently, last year, she was broadcasting, oh, thank you. You make me so happy. It's wonderful. You keep me dancing in the clouds and everything like that. This is the key thing. Don't let the happy face fool you. And I'm going to really pound into this point at the end. But this is important for people to look at. So I'm pretty sure this wasn't an overnight decision of, okay, let's get divorced. Especially with the number of assets, the amount of money that they have. This probably took, at a minimum, a year, 2 years for them to sort everything out with regards to who's going to get what, how much, and so on and so forth. Because they say that it's been pretty amicable. So they've pretty much decided on how to distribute the assets. That takes a lot of time. So the fact that they were probably going through this divorce while she was posting this says a lot. And I'll get back to that point at the end. But remember that part. Let's keep going. John Gottman, who runs a practice with his wife, Julie, and whose 2015 book, The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work, is still one of the best-selling books on staying together. He says, if part of the relationship is eroded, the romance, the passion, the collective adventure, then a lot of couples take that as a time to end the relation amicably. And my guess is that in a lot of ways, they've probably led very parallel lives. They're so busy, and they're both very powerful intellects independently. Bill focuses on climate change and health. Melinda has been increasingly active in issues affecting women and girls. So he's saying that at this point, they're living together, but they're not living life together or going through life together. They're living in parallel. She's doing her thing, he's doing his thing, and that's just the way it is. I have my own interests, so we don't really have anything, bringing us together. We've lost the passion, we've lost the romance, we've lost the common interest. We don't have family night anymore, we don't have game night anymore, we don't, there's not really anything that we're doing together. You're busy focusing on this important issue. It's an important issue, but it's an important issue for you. I'm over here focused on this other important issue, but it's an important issue for me. And so we don't really share anything together, which is important. It doesn't mean that they don't love each other anymore. It's just that intensity has died now because there's been nothing to keep the fire burning. So I think that's a big thing. And you see that often. After a certain point, after a number of years with a person, there's really nothing new to learn about them. I know you. I know what you like. I know what you don't like. I know your smells. I know what makes you laugh. I know what makes you cry. I know when you're upset at me, when you're annoyed. I know all these different things about you. So there's really nothing for me to discover. So I still love you, but my attention towards you kind of fades a little bit. And now I have these interests over here that I'm working toward, or that we're working toward. Because they started the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they started that together. But over time, she was like, okay, I'm going to let him handle all that. I'm going to refocus my attention to women's and girls' issues. So even though they started out on this path together towards this common interest, time took her away from it. And that happens. And so many times people drift apart. Not every divorce is because someone, was angry or upset. Sometimes it's just, okay, we can still be friends. There's still a love there, but it's not an intimate kind of love. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. Next point. There's always this thought in many people's minds. One of the main reasons couples of this vintage called it quits, says many therapists, is because one of them had an affair. I would say cheating is probably at the top, or if it's not the number one reason, it's the second reason behind finances, why many couples get divorced. There's no hint of this in the Gates' news, but the forces that lead to an affair can also lead to a marital dissolution, including the absence of eros in a relationship. I work with a lot of couples who either sex was never really working or sex just got pushed to the back burner and never kind of came back. We crave touch, we crave intimacy, and we crave a romantic gleam in our partner's eye where we feel safe and held, says Ian Kerner, author of So Tell Me About the Last Time You Had Sex. While there's no evidence of straying, he says, he wouldn't be surprised if one or both of them had new partners relatively quickly. So even though right now, and I'll talk a little bit about the ex, but there's really no evidence of, okay, well, one of them stepped out of the relationship, so that's why we're getting divorced. But just the lack of that intimacy can drive people apart. Because humans, we crave that interaction for the most part. There are some people who, don't want any kind of closeness with anyone else. But for the most part, we crave that intimate interaction. And so when you're not getting it from your partner, it's one of those things that's just going to make the fire dwindle even more. So, but like I say, that cheating aspect, that cheating thought is common. Because the thought is, if you're not giving it to me, then you must be giving it to someone else. If you're not showing me that attention, that affection, then you must be showing it to someone else. So just the thought can drive a partner to pull away or go away. Because, well, I'm not going to allow you to do your thing and I'm just over here. I'm going to go do my thing. So even though you may not be doing anything, just the thought and the fact that closeness is not there can drive you even further and further away. So in conclusion, most marriages are more like Maseratis than Mazdas. They can be thrilling, but they need quite a lot of tinkering, and nobody is sure if they're going to work on any given day. The world's most powerful philanthropic couple is no more, but the individuals who have emerged might make even more noise. This part was at the top, but I wanted to save this for the end. If the Gateses, with all that money, a joint project that has made a real impact, 3 kids and 27 years under their belt, couldn't make it, what hope is there for the rest of us? That's the question. My thought: stop comparing your relationship to others. Just because another couple looks happy doesn't mean that they are. Your relationship and standards should be based on yours and your partner's own idea of happiness and a healthy relationship. Just like I said earlier, Melinda was posting, oh, thank you for, this is the guy that makes me dance in the sky. Divorces take time to go through. And even before you decide to sign papers, you see the change in your relationship. I'm sure they've had discussions about the change in their relationship. So we're looking at least 2-3 years of this deteriorated relationship. But just last year, she was posting about dancing in the sky. So people look at other people's relationships to try to measure their own relationship against. And then you start resenting your partner and your relationship because you're so focused on somebody else's and what appears to be a happy, good relationship. That's where problems occur. Your idea of what you want in your relationship, what's going to make you happy, how you and your partner are going to operate and work in harmony and grow together, should be personal. Each person is individual. Each person is unique. Every relationship is unique. There are some commonalities, but how you and your partner are going to make it work is solely based on you and your partner. Never, ever try to be like another couple. We need to be like them. They're doing this. I want you to do that. It's toxic. It does not help. You have to look at yourself and your partner and understand what you're both capable of doing. What you're both able to bring to the table. That's the measurement for your relationship. So people looking at Bill and Melinda Gates and thinking, oh my goodness, that's so terrible. If they couldn't make it, they had 27 years of marriage. But after 27 years, they are getting divorced. So they have their reasons. The longevity is beautiful. There are many couples that have been married for 30, 40, 50 years. And some of them have been miserable for 30, 40, 50 years. You don't know what's going on behind those closed doors. And it shouldn't matter because it's none of your business. Everyone wants to speculate. Well, I bet this is the reason. Let's talk about a little bit about the speculation. So the rumor about the ex, and this is from BusinessToday. The founders of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation filed for divorce on May 3rd. They said that they have come to an agreement on how to split their assets. So they've already decided. I'm telling you that it had to have been at least a year, 2 years for them to come to this conclusion of how they're going to split those assets. $130 billion, you don't figure that out just in one night, okay? Bill Gates and ex-girlfriend Ann Winblad met in 1984 at a Ben Rosen Esther Dyson computer conference. Gates and Winblad broke up in 1987 because she was 5 years older and was more ready for marriage, stated the Times article from 1997. Even after his marriage to Melinda, Gates and Winblad had an arrangement that they could keep one vacation tradition alive. For more than a decade till the article was published, Gates would spend a long weekend with Winblatt at her beach cottage on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. They would ride dune buggies, hang glide, and walk on the beach. The duo had previously, before Gates's marriage, gone to Brazil for vacation where they studied bioengineering together, and yet another vacation to a Santa Barbara ranch in California. They took tapes of Richard Feynman's lectures and studied physics. These were nerd activities. This is nerding to the highest, level, exponential nerding. They learned about human evolution, helped by anthropologist Donald Johanson, in an excursion in Zanzibar. In each trip, they would go to the beach with other couples for bonfires and games, and a tradition called the Sing Down, where each team would be given a word and they would have to come up with songs that feature that word. So after his marriage, the two reached an agreement with Melinda that they could both take an annual vacation to keep up the tradition. So many people are speculating that this is the reason why they got divorced or they're getting divorced. Oh, he was messing around with his ex, Anne. They had an understanding. So Melinda knew who the ex was. She was in the picture. She was the ex was the one who actually said, okay, you should marry her because she's intellectual as well and she's stable. And so the wife was okay with Bill going and spending that weekend with his nerd ex-girlfriend, doing all these nerdy things. So even if they were having an interaction, Melinda knew about her. So I wouldn't speculate and say that this is the reason why they're getting divorced. Now, thoughts and feelings can change. Even though she may have been okay with the arrangement early on in the marriage, for 10 years, maybe her thoughts and feelings changed later on down the road. Who knows? The point is that we don't know for sure. And it doesn't matter. Relationships are hard. Successful relationships are hard. Good, happy relationships are hard. They require work. Because you're constantly having to be conscious of your partner, your actions and your partner's actions, and how to work in harmony. Dancing the tango and the salsa and all these sexy dances, they require a lot of work. Freestyle dancing, that's easy. I just do whatever I want. And you're my dance partner. You're standing a few feet away from me. You're doing your own thing. And we're dancing together. There's nothing that's required. There's no work. There's no studying that's involved in that. But a harmonious tango, I have some moves and you have some moves. We have to understand who's leading, who's following. The flow, the rhythm. It's a beautiful thing. That's what a happy relationship is. But don't think that every single good, happy relationship is going to last forever. Because the music stops at some point. And sometimes you have to change partners. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because, like I said, the fact that they have gray divorces and older people finding a reason to leave their marriages. You always have a choice. You always have options to stay or to go. If you haven't seen my 5-part series, 10 Things to Make a Relationship Work, I recommend you going to watch those videos. There's 5 videos. But I stated that the expectation versus the obligation. We all expect for our relationships to last. We all expect for our partner to make us happy or contribute to our happiness. That's the important thing. I think Will Smith said it.
So me and Jada was reflecting about love And I asked her, I said, what does she think was, one of the biggest revelations that she had had about love? She said that you cannot make a person happy. And I thought that was a real deep idea. You can make a person smile, you can make a person feel good, you can make a person laugh, but whether or not a person is happy is deeply and totally and utterly out of your control. I remember the day I retired. I literally said to Jada, that's it. I retire. I retire from trying to make you happy. I need you to go make yourself happy and just prove to me that it's even possible. And after we cracked the hell up, we started talking about, we came into this false romantic concept that somehow when we got married that we would become one. And what we realized is that we were two completely separate people on two completely separate individual journeys, and that we were choosing to walk our separate journeys together. But her happiness was her responsibility, and my happiness was my responsibility. And we decided that we were going to find our individual, internal, private, separate joy. And then we were going to present ourselves to the relationship and to each other already happy, not coming to each other begging with our empty cups out, demanding that she fill my cup and demanding that she meet my needs. It's unfair and it's kind of unrealistic and can be destructive to place the responsibility for your happiness on anybody.
You need to be happy on yourself. You're responsible for your own happiness. I'm just here to contribute to that and not take away from your happiness. I shouldn't be a sad moment. I shouldn't decrease and take away from your happiness, but I shouldn't be responsible for it. So looking at your relationship, looking at your potential future relationship, you can have your thoughts and feelings about, oh, these are the things that will be, important to me, that will make me happy. But you also have to understand your partner. In that conversation, I say it all the time, communication is key. What is important to us, you and I, and not judge it based on everybody else's relationships. So, they'll be fine. $130 billion, you're going to be fine. They got 3 children. Their children are grown for the most part. Yeah, so go find your happiness. Go find something that you can devote your attention to. That's the important thing. Don't stay for the sake of staying. Stay if you believe that it can work and you're willing to put in the work to make that tango. But if you're just freestyling, you don't get points for longevity. You might stay on the dance floor for 5 hours, but you don't get points for longevity. That's just my thoughts. All right, so I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys again for watching. Again, like the video, subscribe to the video. So I'm going to keep these going. Going to keep these videos going. I appreciate those of you who are watching. Comment, please. Let me know your thoughts. I want to know what you guys think. So share your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that, hearing them after 27 years getting divorced is a sad thing? And discouraging for you in new relationships, those of you that are in new relationships, or those of you that have been in relationships for close to this amount of time or even longer. What are your thoughts on, on relationships and what makes them work? Share your thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. Remember, you only have one life. Make sure you do it justice.